I do not think that you can save your way to wealth. And I think whenever you have a business and you're going up, 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 and then you hit some roadblocks, you hit some friction, then you have to take a step back, and then you might dip down, and then you continue to go up again. And so I'm in a dip right now. How did you go from zero to making six figures? And I do want to be honest, I thought I was going to make six figures in January. It was closer to
Welcome to Nursing Real Wealth. Today we are joined by a good friend of mine, Amber McCollum. 1 year ago, she was working a 9-to-5 and making ends meet by delivering food as a side hustle. Today she's on track to make six figures per month. We're going to find out how that happened today. Amber, welcome.
Thank you so much, Justin, for having me on. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you bet. I'm happy to have you on. This is good. It's been a while since we talked because you're so busy, but it's been busy. Good.
Do you remember the very first time we connected?
Yes, you were at a meetup, and it was you were like on your phone trying to crouch into the corner of a meetup and hear me.
I know, and I love where we've both come to since then. Mm-hmm. I think about that because you were so intentional about connecting, and I was like, I love that he's doing that. It actually right then and there taught me a lot of that, and I've always admired you for that. I just want to say that.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I'm sorry because I got asked to go to that event. It was a protege event, and I was asked and given a free ticket. And so I have this, I don't want to ever not meet with somebody if I put it on the calendar. I think it's very important to do that, to show up for people. And so I was like, I've never met Justin, so he doesn't know if I'm flaky or not. So I'm going to have to do it. So I had to step out in this crowded hallway and talk to you, but it was still a good conversation. I'll never forget it.
Great. So. No, it made an impression on me. It was always on my list of things to make sure I follow up with you. But then I saw that you were really tracking with some steam, and I was like, this is great. I'm happy for her, and she doesn't need my help right yet, but when she needs it, I'm here. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. How about you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to pursue making more than what you were making delivering food and working a 9-to-5?
Yeah. So thank you for asking. I started my real estate journey. It's been over a year. It feels less than that and more than that in so many ways. But I started where a lot of people start, which is wholesaling. And I say this all the time, so a lot of people probably heard me say it before. I did not like it. It's not my thing. I think it is very important to find out what is not your thing as much as it is valuable to find out what your thing is. So I did a couple of deals with people, and then I had a lot of non-deals, and I thought, this is not for me. Not only do I not like wholesaling, I don't like any part of it. Like, I don't even want a team to do it because, people would say, well, you can get virtual assistants or you can get this. You don't have to do all the things. And I was like, I just don't like it. I'm not going to lean into it. So, but I still didn't ever, forget that you could make a lot of money in real estate. And I've always loved investing, like just alternative investments, art, different things. I'm always looking for different ways. And I saw in one of my days when I was watching cryptocurrency, videos after video after video, I came across a podcast that was introducing PACE, and they normally talk about finance and dividends and just different things, but they just happened to be interviewing Pace Morby. And he talked a lot about what he was doing. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Pace is very dynamic when he talks. So he'll really catch your attention. So I started following him and then realized that, hey, I need to get involved in this community. And so I joined what his community is. One of his communities is Gator method, and I guess it's not really his community, it's our community. But so I joined that, and I set out to lend money and EMD, and thought I was going to make $1 million month one doing all of these earnest money deposit transactions. And I did not find one right away, nor did I have that much money to lend. So I decided to build myself out as a connector and connect buyers to funding partners. And that's been my journey ever since. But I will say what I said at the beginning of this question is I started networking intentionally. That's really what I did, especially like right around that time I was talking to you. I took August and September to do that, where I would meet people every single day. And I realized that, okay, I know a good bit of people now. And now if somebody needs something, I know how to connect them together. And I did that, and it took off from there. Once I think you get momentum, then you can scale up. So that's how it happened.
You kind of intimated that you, before real estate, were looking for multiple different ways of making money, which is very similar to my pathway. I definitely looked at the crypto thing, never could quite figure out Bitcoin, never could figure out exactly what made it valuable. I heard the explanations, but it never quite made sense. I invested. I still have a little bit of Bitcoin, but it's never been very lucrative. But what other, besides real estate, before real estate, I guess, what were some of the other investment strategies you tried? And what steered you, I guess, ultimately away from those and more towards the real estate? Obviously, you encountered a video of PACE, which most of us have, but what steered you away ultimately?
Well, I wanted to be very live the American dream, Justin, just like everybody wants to live, right? Like save, live under your means, buy a house, work a great job with great benefits. And at the end of the day, a lot of people cannot make it on one income, sometimes not on two incomes. Is not sustainable. I do not think that you can save your way to wealth. And it's very ironic, my background, because I'm not really all about the money. I put this as an irony for sure, but it's not about really growing wealth for me. It is about growing influence and freedom. And so before I got into real estate and before I did this, I was like, I cannot save my way into financial freedom. That's not going to happen. I don't make enough. I'm working two jobs. I've always had to do that. It's just, not going to happen. So I tried all kind of different things. I felt like dividends has been one of the ways that I've leaned into, and I actually still invest in dividends. So I didn't just drop everything else I was doing. I think that's buying Costco has been really great for me, because not only do they have dividends, they go up, and I am their primary shopper. So I am propping Costco up. As long as I shop there, I'm like, I better invest in where I'm putting my money, because I give Costco a lot of my money. But so I still do that. I still do dividend investing. I still do crypto investing. I know some people don't understand it. I love it. I'm up. I got in early, which is a blessing. I will tell you a horror story. I got in Ethereum before it was $200, and I sold it $1,200. And that is still it's grinding for me. So I'm a risky person. That's just what I am. I'm willing to take risks because I think I could save the money and still be in the same place. I still have a job. Money's always going to come. You can always make money. Or I can take a lot of risk and try for a better situation. And so, yeah, those are some of the things I've done and still continue to do.
Would you say you've always been that way, or is this a development over the last several years?
I have always been both, a little bit of both. So it is my tolerance for risk has developed over the last several years, but also I have always been someone who I will spend money on some things. Like I'm not a shopper, not like that, but like I love experiences. I'll travel. I've never been like one to think, let's not live a life and hold on to our money so tightly. We just have the one life, right? And it's like I want to experience life in a great way. So that may mean saving less. I still want to, be a good steward of resources, right? So I'm willing to spend and take a little risk here and there, do a little bit of gambling. I mean, I'm not actually a gambler, a real gambler, but so I'm a risky person in general, just in living life in a free manner, just knowing it'll come, money will come. I'm a faithful person, so I believe that, if I put in hard work, the seeds that you plant, you will reap a harvest. So if I'm a good worker, then I will continue to make money. There might be hardships, and as long as I'm a good steward of what I have, then eventually, it'll work out. So yeah, that's where I am. But now I am more of a risk taker, because I just feel like if you want to make money, you can make money. And I love that.
Agreed. I think that's the biggest challenge is if you've grown up in an environment where people are not risk takers, it's easy to go ahead and adopt that philosophy of mind. I can tell you, I was not a risk taker. I think my risk portfolio is still a little bit, maybe on the high side of moderate, but that's a far cry from what I once was. I used to invest even in my 401k. I took the lowest risk option when I first started investing in my 401k. That's how ill-informed I was.
And then they have that management fee on top of that, right?
Right, exactly. I was wondering why it didn't grow very much. But yeah. So maybe what were some of the challenges you faced early on in this journey into real estate? It's not been a super long time,
but it has had challenges.
Yeah.
So I think some of the challenges that I think anybody would face when you're starting entrepreneurship or a new venture is what you're willing to put in is what you'll make of it. So the thing is people can make things look so easy, and life is just not easy. Nothing is passive. That's the main thing. Everything, an action taker is who will reap the rewards of their actions, right? So if you feel like you're going to join some community, no matter what kind of community is in anything, and sit back and just let it come to you, that is not going to happen. And so I believed that wasn't going to happen, but I also found out that it's a lot harder than I did imagine, because I thought, I'm going to grow this line of credit and people just need money. And then you realize real estate's a risky business. Real estate, there's so many nuances to it. You can learn it. I learned it at first from the wholesale side. Now here we are here. And, deals, my philosophy and my saying, and I just said it earlier on Zoom today, deals, it's not about if deals will go south, it's when. And especially in the private money lending space. Now, there are things you can put in place there that can stop that from happening. And so you can build yourself into a situation where you don't have deals go south, right? But that's going to be with relationships and with your vetting process and with all of the things, all of the protections and safety measures you can put in. But at the end of the day, even if you lend in first position, even if you get someone to underwrite the deals for you, there is still a risk. There's so many unknown factors. And the biggest being, which is morbid to say, but death. Did you ask when you're going into a deal, did you ask who's going to be a beneficiary if someone passes away, right? Like, things could happen. A fire could happen and you've forgotten to insure something. Like, you can do so many things, and then that one thing that you didn't know you needed could happen. And so I think that when you're investing in anything, real estate or stock market or anything you do, you have to know this investment is an investment, and investments go up and investments go down. So you have to know, what is your risk tolerance, and how are you going to put safety around that? And so Yeah, I think it's been hard to learn that because when I started, I just wanted to do a deal. And the urge to want to do a deal sometimes can be so strong that you forget all of those safety measures. And I did have to learn that the hard way. I had a deal that went south on me, and it'll hopefully never happen again. I've learned a lot. I've put a lot of safety measures. There's a lot of things that I don't do now. So yeah, it's been challenging. Learn going from just wanting a deal to knowing your worth and saying I'm worth the connections that I make are worth more than a bad deal. The money that I bring, because I'm a private money lender myself at this point, so the money that I bring's worth more than a bad deal. Relationships that I have are worth more than a bad deal. I don't need a bad deal. What I need is to know my worth. And when you know your worth, then you can be peaceful about this will come because I'm building something good, not just something fast. So,
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. It's super easy, especially when you're in a motivated community full of people that are motivated to get a deal, motivated to get in on the action of, investing. That's what they set out to do. And I think it's also easy, too, to look at somebody who has tapped into something good and be like, well, I started at the same time they did. And why am I not there? And I think, each of us has to go down our own journey, our own path to discover how we're going to tap into the connections that we have, the opportunities that we have, our systems, our processes, whatever we're doing. Each of us has our own journey, and we're all going to go at our own speed. We're all going to end up, and I think it's also okay to say, like, even though you're taking action, there are people I know. I interviewed a guy 2 podcasts ago. His name is Trevor. It took him 7 months to get his first deal.
Yeah.
It didn't stop him from pounding the pavement,
Right.
But it took him 7 months to go and get his first deal. So everyone's going to be different. It wasn't for lack of action. So I think it's important not to directly compare yourself to one another, at least in the results. You can always compare yourself in the actions you're taking. That would be good,
Right.
But not necessarily in the results that you get.
So to add on to that a little bit, Justin, you said a big line, like, how did you go from 0 to making 6 figures? And I do want to be honest. I thought I was going to make 6 figures in January, and one of the deals did not go through. So I did not quite hit the 6-figure mark. A little shy of that. It was closer to 70,000. So still great, still fantastic. But
the trajectory is still there.
The trajectory is still there. But at the same time, like, I see February dipping. And so part of what I want to do too, and just building who I am as a person, is do exactly what you just said. Like, you just were talking about someone who didn't get their first deal for 7 months, but kept trying. This is an up and down business. And I think that you can do as much as you can to make it consistent. And that's where I'm leaning in. Like, I want consistency. And until I get consistency, I am not going to feel as successful as I want to be, because I can make 70,000 one month and then 0 the rest of my journey. And then what is that? Right. So I think there's some growing pains, and there's some why is it now tapering off? And I know why a little bit. Some of it's the deal flow, some of it's I pivoted. And I think whenever you have a business and you're going up, and then you hit some roadblocks, you hit some friction, then you have to take a step back, and then you might dip down, and then you continue to go up again. And so I'm in a dip right now, but I'm going to keep at it, and I'm going to keep trying. And I would say for anyone who is new into investing, that just know that there will be ups and downs, and learn from every single step, every single move you make, track it, learn what you did right, what you did wrong, and also learn that some things are out of your control, and be able to stomach that. Right, as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to, especially if it's your full time gig, you have to be able to stomach that. So, anyway, I appreciate
Absolutely.
what you said.
Love that. I had a hunch originally that when you started Gator, you didn't necessarily believe you'd be in this position that you're in right now. But you almost kind of indicated that the other way around. You had this belief in yourself that you were capable of achieving some pretty significant income. Would you say that mindset was always there, or was there a particular turning point at some point along the way here in this journey in real estate where a switch flipped? And if it did, what was that?
Yeah. The mindset was not always there. My belief in myself was more a need, like I have to make this happen. And there's a lot of things that happened in this past year to make me get to that point. Number one, I have a disability that I do talk about. I'm pretty open about it. It's multiple sclerosis. And, when I was delivering food, so I did that as a side hustle, and it just didn't make sense because I wasn't bringing in enough income. And then I started another part-time job where you went into grocery stores and stores like Target and other big brick and mortar stores, and you helped them. You were kind of a secret shopper, but you weren't really shopping. You were collecting prices and putting it in the system and seeing how other stores compared. And I would have to literally stand on my feet for a long time, and I can't do that. Like, I can't stand on my feet for more than about 20 minutes. And so it was just like I would have to take long breaks. And so my numbers, it would take me a lot longer to do the job, but it was decent money. And I was just like, I cannot keep doing this. My body can't keep doing this. So that's one thing. The physical part of it. And I have a regular 9 to 5 that I work from home, and it's really good. But, as the older I get, the more I see that my body is changing, and I have medication, I have great doctors, and I'm doing all the things, the therapy and everything else, but it's a fact of life. I'm not sad about it. I'm not upset about it. It's just who I am, and it's part of me, and that's what I'm dealing with. But sometimes I do have some mobility issues. And also earlier this year, my dad passed away. And so as I was taking care of him and realizing what is lacking in our healthcare system and in end of life care, especially for somebody. I mean, he worked for Lockheed Martin. He had a retirement. He had Social Security. He lived what we were just talking about as the American dream. And at the end of his life, he didn't have the resources to care for him as much as he needed to. And so then, when I went through that earlier this year, I was like, I've got to do something different, because what are the resources going to be for me at the end of my life? And so there's a why there, but it was a need. So the mindset wasn't there yet. The mindset wasn't, I can achieve financial freedom by doing these real estate things and all the things that our communities teach us how to be. That mindset wasn't there, but the need of, I've got to do something, and it's got to be now, because we're only allotted so much time, and I've got to figure out what it is that I need to do right now. So when I first started, I just thought, I have to do this. Like, I have to make it work. It's do or die. That's the mindset that I had, but it's changed. It's changed over time. And I think it's changed because, I've been connecting with so many good people that just know what they're doing and are willing to help and are willing to partner. And I got a couple of business coaches. I went through a business coaching program with Jesse Stanton, and that has changed my life. Like, it was really good. And just being able to talk about your goals and where you want to be, and having someone do a deep dive with you and just talk. And the more you talk about mindset, the more you have this belief system of, I can really do this. Like, I can achieve it. So there's that. And then Keston, I don't know if anybody knows Keston, but he does he's in sub 2 and he does a mindset coaching program as well. And it's really, really personal. And I'm in his group. He does more than that, but I'm in his group coaching where we sit down and just talk about things. And I think investing in yourself and investing in someone who can help you build up that mindset if you don't have it is a life changer. And it's been a game changer for me. So yeah, my mindset definitely has changed since I started.
I'm sure some people are listening and going, I wonder what this difference is between a need and having this mindset shift to believing I can. We may not be able to answer that question for you, but it's a worthy pursuit, actually. The more I understand it, the more that I realize that it is an incredibly worthy pursuit. There's a difference between having almost like a frantic need to accomplish something versus a belief that, no, I can do this. I have been gifted. I've been created with the abilities to go and do things that I've never granted myself the permission to do. So very different mindset.
Yeah.
What are your goals? You're interested in also buying businesses and having equity in real estate. So what are your goals for raising capital in those regards?
Yes. So I joined Protege it's a group by Carl Allen, and he teaches how to buy businesses creatively. It's a fantastic group with a fantastic community. And one thing I've learned just in general is that invest in communities, because that's where the deals happen. That's where you learn, you grow. It's where all the education is. And if you can zoom up your education by learning from other people, then that is the way to go. So I love mentorships, and it's a fantastic community. Much like my experience with wholesaling, I thought, I'm going to zoom right on into buying businesses. It is very similar in that it's very different, but very similar in that you need to call homeowners and you need to send out flyers and you need to market. And I was just like, number one, I do not have the time for that. I do like it better than wholesaling, but I just realized that's not my gift. And I think I need to know, like, I'm learning how to stay in my lane, Justin. Like, what is your gift? Your gift is raising capital. I love talking about money. I've been managing money in my 9 to 5 job for the past over 10 years, 11, 12 years. I talk about how state governments can manage money. So I can talk about money, and I know the language of money and the ways of money. So it's like, why don't I lean into what I'm good at? And so now I just decided I still want to buy businesses. I still want to buy real estate, but I want to do it through money. And anybody who's buying real estate and anybody who's buying businesses creatively, they all need capital partners, capital raisers, and equity partners. So my goal for the future is I want to continue being a connector right now, but I am pivoting to moving into launching a fund. I haven't started it. I don't even know the legalities, honestly, of talking about it before you start it. So I will just say it is a pursuit. I would like to start a fund in the future, learn all about that. And so get that structured and really lean into capital raising and being able to help other people close their deals, help other people buy businesses, help people buy real estate, and get equity in deals that way. Be an equity partner, really.
There you go. I love it. I need to learn that alongside you at some point. How do you obviously with investing, we've already talked about it. There's a lot of risks and there's a lot of potential rewards inside of this space. How do you personally assess that balance between risks and potential rewards when you're considering new investment opportunities for yourself?
Yeah. For myself, I take a lot of risk. I don't mind taking risk. But it's not because, so let me break this down a little bit. I see a lot of people who have deals that are maybe offering 3 months, 90 days. sane returns, right? And I am skeptical of those deals because I'm thinking, how is that person going to repay you? Unless it's just a sweetheart thing and they really only need the money for some specific reason and they're going to really get it back. Or they're maybe swapping somebody out for whatever reason. I don't necessarily think those are good deals. I think that you should, when you are being a private money lender, which is what I am being, that you should be reasonable with people's deals. At the same time, I do want to be able to, so if I have a line of credit that's, 12%, I'm going to have to beat that 12% in order to make a return. Of course, that 12% is annualized. So for me, doing a 6-month deal would beat it, even at a decent return, right? So I'm willing to take on a second lien position. I'm willing to take on a riskier deal for the potential to have a high reward. I'm not willing to do a deal that's unreasonable. Both because I don't feel like that's who I am as a human. If somebody's offering, even if they can repay me, I don't think I need 40% for 90 days, honestly. So I'm not going to really do that. That's just not who I am. I don't take as much money as I could, even as a connector. I've already decided that's not who I am as a person. I want people to, and I honestly, Justin, I think that's why I've been successful, because I think people continue to come back to me. I have the same people that come to me over and over and over for deals. And that's helped me in 2 ways. Number one, I don't have to continue to vet the actual person. Then we're just vetting the deal. And the second thing is I don't charge them such unreasonable fees to where they're like, you know what, I'm only going to go to Amber if I absolutely need her. I want to be a partner that they want me to just save them time and help them close a deal, right? So as a lender myself, I will do a riskier deal than deals I bring to people, but I also will not pressurize a deal personally just because I want a high return. So that's how I break it down. Like, I'm not going to ask for a high return and be like, well, at least it'll be a high return. I don't care if I lose my money. I'm not that kind of risk. It's actually relationship based.
It's calculated risk.
Yeah.
Thinking about the realities of it. Yeah, exactly. Well, when you see, I've seen fix and flip deals, roam around in our circles, and they're offering 30, 35 or 40% returns in 90 days on those full rehab. A very, very rudimentary math should go and tell you that's not plausible, and you're going to probably lose some money, or they're 100% guaranteed to be late on your money. You can't rehab a whole house, tear it out, rebuild it, and put it on the market and have it sold in 90 days. So in order for that to even happen, it's going to have to be, the only way that could really work is if it's truly what they call, I think some people call them wholesale deals, right? Where there's literally just lipstick that needs to be put on the property, like some paint, some landscape, call it a day, Right. So if your scope of project, your scope of work is telling you that this is a full-on rehab and they're going to get it done in 90 days, sure, we'll get you paid. No, it's not going to happen.
They're desperate.
Yeah. That's a borrower who doesn't have their head screwed on straight about their own abilities.
And two, I'll ask people, Justin, so people that will say, I only want 3-month deals. I come back to them, by the way, and low key, put a little bit of hurt on them and say, hey, how many 3-month deals have you done that's successful? And they'll be like, well, no, still waiting on them. And I'm like, and your money could have been working for you at a much reasonable rate for the past 2 months. So good luck to you, sir, but you are making zero money.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. I'd love to get into, what strategies you use to maintain some intentionality in your business decisions. You're still working a 9 to 5 because you're still looking for that consistency month over month. And then you're working your, as they call it, 5 to 9 in the evenings.
That's right.
So how do you maintain intentionality in that?
Yes. So that's a weak area for me, Justin. It's difficult. I am overcoming it so my strength is connecting with people and making relationships. And I love that. I can no longer make relationships with everybody that I want to because there's not enough time in the day. So people will reach out to me, and it's really hard for me to say no. That's the hardest part, because it's like people will say, I'm brand new to this space. Can you help me? And the helper and lover in me, I want to help them. And it's like the tired Amber that has been getting 4 hours of sleep for the past 4 nights would be like, no, I cannot. My calendar's booked up. I don't even know where I could squeeze this in. Also, my 9 to 5 isn't just a 9 to 5, by the way. It has been so busy lately that I'm working over 40 hours. So to try to squeeze this in, it's like there's so many people to connect with, and I want to know them all. And it causes me a little bit of anxiety because I want to connect so badly. So what I have decided to do is I have started my own podcast with Shane Evans. And so we have a group together, and I have been hosting group Zooms because I thought that is the way to go. I cannot meet everybody one-on-one. And so the second somebody says, I want to meet one-on-one, I'm saying, please come to this group Zoom that we're going to have next Saturday, because that's where you're going to meet me. Sorry, I want to help. And I literally am hoping, we've only done it 2 times. I've only done it 2 times so far, but I'm trying, I want it to be good for them too, right? Like I want them to come and say, I don't know what I'm doing, and just grow a network of people that can say, here's how we can help you with your deal flow. Here's how we can ask and, tell you what we did, how we grew our line of credit, or how we structured our business, or, those questions that they just want to ask somebody. That's what I've really been doing. So that's helped a lot, being intentional about not taking up my calendar with just every person, because I know that's not sustainable for me. And also being very intentional about, where does my strength come from? And for a hot minute there, I will admit, it's not that I forgot, it's that I just wasn't intentional about going back to that. And my strength comes from my faith. And so I have to continue to do those same daily habits that got me to this mindset and this belief, and it's given me all the blessings in life. And so I am misaligned when I do so many deals, or I think that I need to do every single minute of deal making and not take that time out for what's truly important, which is rest and nutrition and exercise and faith. So when I can be intentional about those things, then the rest seems to work out, and that's how I'm going about it.
And on that note, actually, I did want to talk a little bit about faith and how it plays a role in your approach to business, your approach to investments, and how does it influence your decision-making process? Obviously, you and I are both believers. And so we're going to look at maybe our decision-making process through that lens, more so than, folks who are not, who don't see life from our perspective.
Right. Well, part of that is I'm unemotional about who I do deals with, right? Like you don't have to come from a certain background to do business with someone. And so there's no judgment on who believes what, or doesn't believe anything at all, or doesn't have faith. Yes, I am a Christian, but I think the way I approach deals is that I want to be the person that I claim to be, no matter what. And that may be, if a deal goes south, to walk alongside with that person. Or that may be when someone does tell me they are a Christian or a person of faith, that if they are going through a hard time, that I ask if I can pray with them. and do things like that. And I think that builds a better bond, and that has nothing to do with real estate, right? But it does have everything to do with who I am. And I'm so thankful that you mentioned it on your podcast, and that I'm able to talk about it, because I have a firm belief that everyone, no matter where you are in life, should be able to talk about who they are. And I think so many people don't. And I want to boldly talk about my faith. And I think everybody who has faith should, because that's, if it's a part of you, then you should be able to talk about it. And so I think just that is how I inserted into deals. And you would not believe how that has changed the trajectory of some of the partnerships I've had. I have come on people's podcasts or had just a one-on-one conversation and said, you know what, I'm going to pray about this. I don't know if this is going to be for me. This deal particularly sounds good, but I need to go back and pray about it. And I don't say that all the time, but sometimes if I feel it, like, and I really feel like I need to pray about it, I just blurt that out because that's who I am. And it will stop. Well, it literally stopped somebody, and they said, I'm so glad you said that. Like, nobody says that. Like, why'd you say that? And I was like, they said, we try to keep politics and religion out of business. And that's okay. We can keep politics and religion out of business, but you can't keep a part of me out of business if I'm a business partner with you. So it is who I am. And so I will talk about it. And I think that that's also part of freedom. So I just don't want to just be free with money. I want to be free with who I am as a person. And faith is part of it.
Absolutely. Love that. How have you maintained a positive outlook and had resilience in the face of some of the setbacks and obstacles that you've encountered over this journey?
Well, the more positive days you have, the easier it is to do everything that you need to do. If you bring negativity into the space, I found out that most deals, they start becoming negative, right? They won't close. You bring stress. If you're negative about it, everybody else gets stressed out. I think having a positive mindset and realizing, you know what, this deal may not close, but the next one will. I think that if you can believe that everybody has something to offer you, every connection's a good connection, and don't approach business from a business standpoint. Approach it as, this is a positive relationship I'm going to have with this person no matter what. I think that everybody's happier. And when you're happier, you're more successful. And that's just proven. It is anecdotally, surely, by me, but also just you hear it all the time. And people that have gone before and have done great things, it's like, why are we bringing negativity into this space? Like, if you're positive, good things are going to come to you. And so, yeah, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the workday is hard. It's a grind. And sometimes you don't even want to be positive, especially if people are difficult to deal with, which, in real estate, there are some people that are difficult to deal with, difficult to communicate with. I learned really quickly who I don't want to do deals with sometimes. But, I think that you have to be unemotional about, so I've been cut out of a deal. I'll just say that. Like, there's been times where people have circumvented me, even if I've had a JV agreement in place. And I just thought, you know what? I'm not going to sweat it. If I ruminate on that and just like sit here and think about it, then I'm not going to get to the next thing that's going to be great, right? Like, I'm just going to sit there and that's not going to profit me anything, because it's only going to get, they're off and doing their deals. So why don't I just focus on the people that are good to me? And there's so many more good people than there are people who want to cut you out of deals. So it's a non-limiting belief. Just say, hey, let's just find the people. And I will say this, I've had people send me money that I didn't connect. I connected them together, but I didn't actually have to do anything. They said we had a JV agreement. I got a wire one day, and I was just like, where did this come from? And I thought it was a mistake. And they were like, no, we did a deal. You were busy. We didn't want to bother you with it. And we made a connection. So, that's like, wow, these people really are good. They really do value me. And so there's so many of those people out there, and you just focus on that and keep it moving.
Yeah. I love that because that is something that we're going to be talking about in an upcoming podcast. Is talking about the importance of integrity in real estate. Well, it's important in every aspect of life, but in this space in particular, integrity is so important. When we have a lack of it, it's felt immediately. And I think it comes back to actually, not everybody who has integrity is necessarily going to be a believer or even faith-based. They just might operate from that perspective that they believe they need to do the right thing. But, for me, it comes right back to my faith and what I believe I'm compelled to do. And, it influences the smallest things sometimes. I'll give a for instance, actually, that, as a connector, it's easy to want to just sort of make money off of any connection that you have. And I had a really nice guy bring me a deal even this week. The borrower seemed like a really nice person. And when I looked at the connector form, I was a fix and flip, full on rehab. The LLC was a sole proprietorship, so it was just that person. And I looked at the experience level and it said beginner. And so this is somebody who's brand new, taking on a project that, would hopefully sell at about $500,000 as their first deal. And I can't even bring myself to continue to explore that as a possibility for that person, because they need help. There's no way that your first project as a fix and flipper should be full on rehab as a beginner with no one supporting you. Like, that's just not the space to go and just dive right in, right out of the cradle,
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so I had to turn that deal down. The comps looked good. Everything else about the project looked fairly good, but I was just convinced this person really needs to have a partner who's got experience in that market, who can walk alongside them and make sure that they dodge the bullets of that deal that will come.
Mm-hmm.
If we connect people who aren't ready for this and they don't see that yet, maybe they are brand new and really driven to take action. We hear that term, be an action taker. Sometimes it drives us to maybe be a little bit irrational about which action we chose to take first. Right. We can admire the action taking, but it's like, if we connect somebody who with our good sense and our experience, knowing that a lot of those types of deals fail, we could be, even if a private money lender funds them, that could be the demise of that person's real estate journey right there.
Mm-hmm.
If they fail to deliver on that loan, that's it. They're not going to be able to get, they might be able to find somebody who's not interconnected, but I'll tell you, in this private money space, names go around.
That's right.
And we don't like to lend on a failed deal, a failed borrower. So yeah, I think it's important, integrity and in what we do.
So did you connect them with someone else to get out?
I don't have a connection in that particular space. Okay.
Yeah.
If I did, though, that would have been the first order of business. I think I would have wanted to go and find a fix and flipper in that market. I don't have any connections in that market, though.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a bummer. Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah. I love that you talked about integrity. That is my word for the year. So I have, for the past few years, had a word that carries me throughout the year. And last year, my word was establish. And it's weird because there's a lot of scripture that talks about establishing yourself. And so I looked at that word and I was like, this is where I'm leaning into it. And so it was just established, but it more meant like establish who you are as a person and get yourself on solid footing and solid foundation. But it turned out to be so much more than that. Like I established a new business. I established who I am with a new mindset. And so when I was in December, I was like, what am I going to do going into 2024? I'm not a big believer in, I'm a big believer in goals, but I'm not a big believer in New Year's resolutions. It's not really my thing. But I was like, I am a believer in intentionality. So I was like, what is my word? And then just as things happened in December and relationships started and some ended in terms of just like real estate relationships, like partnerships. It's like, I'm probably not going to work with this person as much. I was like, I want integrity in business, in life, in relationships, in every aspect of who I am. I want to bring integrity and I want to integrity brought to me. Right. And so my word for the year is integrity. So I love that you said that. And I cannot wait to see that next podcast that's coming up. I will be the first person to watch it because that's my word. So I'm going to have to see exactly what you're going to be talking about, Justin. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And I love the concept too of, like a word for the year. Sometimes I think people don't like to go and set, they don't like things like that, a word for the year, as if all the other words aren't important. Well, no, it's just literally just focusing attention on a very specific aspect you kind of recognize as an area that you really want to make sure is a key focus. That's the same principle with goals and intentionality and making sure that, it's not that everything else in life is unimportant besides your goals, but they are the things that you're going to focus a very deliberate and intentionality towards accomplishing. So I think that's a good thing. That's very good. What advice would you give to others who may be feeling discouraged right now by setbacks in their own entrepreneurial and investment endeavors?
So I have two pieces of advice really. And one thing is do a deep dive into all of your habits and actions and reverse engineer what you're trying to accomplish. So I'm going to break that down further. If you want to be a private money lender, what are you doing to be a private money lender? If you want to be a connector, what are you doing to be a connector? If you want to be a wholesaler, what are you doing to be a wholesaler? And even break that down even further. Do you want, when you are wholesaling, do you want to be direct to seller? Do you want to be and then break it down even further? Okay, now you figured out where you want to be, what you want to be doing, what's the end goal, and what's it going to take to get there, right? I think so many people start out to do this thing and then they say, I want to be a wholesaler, and that didn't work out this month. So next month I'm going to do this, and then the next month I'm going to do this. And it's still there in real estate, but it's not really working out. I talk to people all the time that haven't got their first deal. And then when you start breaking down what are you doing, they're really not doing the things that it's going to take to get that first deal. They might work on it a little bit, but they're also watching 30 Zooms a week. And I will tell you, I love education, but 30 Zooms a week is not going to get your first deal, right? You're going to have to, at some point, take action. But at the same time, I think there's another camp of people who did say, hey, I want to be a wholesaler. And I've been doing it for a year. I've been calling. I got help. I joined a group. This challenge, that challenge. And I'm not doing it. It's not working for me. If you have truly completed a time audit and realized that you spent the time needed to do something, then I do think it is okay to pivot, but pivot with intentionality. Truly, what finds you joy? I mean, I pivoted and I made a little bit of money with wholesaling, but I knew it wasn't for me. So I was able to pivot and do something different. And then when you do that, be sure that it's not just a shiny object, but that's what you're going to lean into. I joined the Gator community. A lot of people, there's so many, Gator can mean so many different things. There's so many different aspects of it. So be very intentional about what that aspect is. If you're a Gator, like what exactly in Gator are you doing? What is your buy box? What is your risk tolerance? What are you doing to make it happen? I look at some of the people in the community like Nathan, who was very intentional with wholesalers, and he's doing so many deals. And I remember talking to him, and I don't even think he remembers, but I looked back at our Facebook messages on talking about like we were both starting around the same time and just both trying to figure it out. And then I look at him now and I'm seeing he's a leader and he's moving forward. And I don't even know if he's going to listen to this. I hope you do, Nathan. I want to give a shout out to him. I haven't really connected with him since then, but I see his journey and I'm like, man, you were so intentional. And I think it's because he wasn't
and
out
it's
here
really
doing all
just
of
the
these
one
other things.
thing too. It's the EMD and the transactional, I believe. Those are the two niches. That's it.
Right. And he didn't do anything else. And that's kind of what I did with being a connector. I stopped everything else and got into that and grew my network and kept at it and kept at it and kept at it. And then I got even more granular to where I just had the five people I worked with, same people over and over, same deals. I knew their deals inside and out. I knew their HUD statements. I already had everything I need. You know what I mean? So it's like, I didn't just say I'm a connector of all these things and all these deals. I even picked an avenue. Like I won't even do fix and flips anymore. Like it's buy and hold these specific people, these specific deals. So I think being very specific and we've used the word intentional so many times. I'm trying so hard just to think of another word, but it's there. It's like being very focused on one particular thing and being really good at it and not moving to the next thing until you've mastered that one particular thing. I think that's the best advice.
That's good. I like it.
Tell me, what are your next steps? I know you're interviewing me, but I want to interview you a little bit, Justin. Like, where are you going? Tell me what's the next steps for your podcast and what are you even doing right now? Like,
I love it. That's a great question. And actually, I love what you said because I had to grapple with that exactly. What was I doing to accomplish what I wanted to do? Because I was doing the connecting as well, right? And so what I was finding was I connected with more private money lenders. I have a massive group of private money lenders now. I've got, a little over $8 million worth of private money that I have access to, which is nice, but I had no borrowers.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was trying to shift what I was doing. I went into Facebook groups after my 9 to 5, right? Mm-hmm. I would go into these Facebook groups and try and do some intentional connecting with people. Mm-hmm. And it was a death scroll. That's what it was. It was a death scroll looking for, in between we provide 100% funding, advertisements for spammers. In between all of that, you're trying to find the little diamond in the rough of the person who's like, hey, looking to connect and build relationships with either private money lenders or connectors. And you're like, yes, that's me. So that's what I found. I was really, really struggling with finding people. And then the other thing was I was running into, friendly competition, people that I knew that had already made a connection. I was like, dang, they're in good hands. Like, I'm not going to go and try and arm my way in there. That's a good person. A lot of respect for them. And they already made the connection, and I was just 3-4 hours too late, right. And that's what I was running into. These connections were happening during my work hours. Yeah. And then I would have to come in the evening and, wasn't making a lot of connections. And I actually ended up finding, my friend Philip Ty. He's been such a support and a help to me. And he actually put us onto some AI software that was able to help me start to sort of compile the leads while I'm at work. And then I could come into the evening and be like, okay, they literally just posted this. So I can go ahead and take care of these and immediately make a connection. And so that has definitely increased the pool of prospects, real prospects, rather than some of the scam artists I was dealing with for the longest time. I had multiple requests for private capital in the month of October. And I denied every single one of them because they were all, they didn't make sense. Had a guy ask for 160% loan to value once. And I was like, interesting. No rehab budget, it's just like he just wants 160% loan to value. There were just a lot of deals like that. And it was mind numbing going through deals and saying, wow, this one disqualified itself again. This one disqualified itself. So yeah, a lot of it came out of, again, also name dropping Jesse Stanton, getting real specific about it, reverse engineering and looking back at what was I doing. There's a lot of busyness, but the busyness was not always the most meaningful, result-oriented busyness.
Right.
And so I shifted gears at the beginning of this year, and that has definitely put some potential opportunities into my lap, which is really good. It's been a definite shift. So it's been encouraging.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm encouraged by your story, Justin. Yeah. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like you said that so monotone, this is great. I mean, I want some emojis here. I want the flashes. I'm proud of you, Justin. Look at you.
Thank you.
I love it.
So yeah, the connecting is the main thing. And the other side part is I'm looking for properties to go and buy. And I'm working with Jesse, directly on that. So any properties that I can find, we're looking for properties that we can buy together. So there's that. And then as far as the podcast goes, I will say the podcast has been one of the best things I've ever done. One of the best things I've ever done.
Learned a lot.
Grateful, very grateful to Pace for putting the challenge out. I think he only challenged us to do 3 or 4 episodes, something like that. I'm a little beyond that now. But it's put me into rooms with people that are just thinking on another level.
That's right.
And, in what other space would you get a chance to really sit and talk with somebody? Pick their brain for an hour. Some of these people are people that, could charge, $20,000 a day for somebody to spend a whole day with them. And these people will come and join a Zoom for free. And just talk with you for an hour, because the value is in their message being able to be seen by way more than one person,
That's right.
So I don't know exactly, the final trajectory of the podcast. Right now, we're just kind of flowing with it and continuing to make those connections. But it has been extremely beneficial to be able to get in the same room with high thinking, higher level thinking,
And I started that same challenge you did, and I did my first few, and podcast wasn't on my long-term goals at the time. And there's always different routes to take, but you have such a gift, and I'm so glad you did it. And I'm watching. That's the thing. That's the thing about life too. You never know who's watching you, right? Like, you probably knew I'm watching you because I'm liking some of your stuff, but you don't know who's outside of me who's watching you, and how impactful you can be. Like, even, yes, you're learning things, the benefit to you, but the benefit to other people by learning from those conversations that maybe they don't have a podcast and not going to be able to have that conversation. But you ask one question that might tweak their business just a little bit. I love some of those posts that you did on Instagram recently, just like those shorts, nuggets, and I was
Little
like, man, I love
breakdowns of
these.
our
Yeah,
podcast. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely, I love that, and so you're an inspiration, Justin, and I love seeing that you grow and lean into that. Like, that's you're finding out what you're made for. You're finding out your superpower, and this is it, right? And so, or one of your superpowers. So I love
Well,
that.
thank you. I appreciate that. I will say one of the things that does fuel me and keeps me going is the occasional comment or even DM. I wish people sometimes wouldn't DM as much as they did. Just comment publicly and spur that thinking. But I love getting DMs from people. I've had people contact me and say, especially the 2 podcasts I did on private money lending with Eric and Logan, I consistently, oh, I got balloons. Those 2 podcasts, I've continued to get comments from people who watch those and stop themselves from getting into a deal that they saw later on failed. And that's enough to keep me rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That saved that person, $50,000 of loss.
That's right.
And it may have been their only $50,000 to lend with. Just one nugget. I don't even know what the nugget was, but it was enough to keep them from going into a deal that later turned south. So that's powerful, and definitely enough to keep rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, definitely don't stop. I mean, yeah. I didn't even know that was an option. You're not stopping now. You can't stop.
Not an option. No, not an option. The goal would be eventually to go and do these on a more regular cadence, but my bandwidth to also scale up the connecting business, that's going to have to shift. I'm going to have a few things that shift to go and make that happen.
Of course. Yep. And you'll find it because you're in the right rooms.
Let me ask you one last question that I really want to hear the answer to. This is
okay. I'm nervous.
How do you see your values of mission and relationships shaping your future goals and the decisions that you make in your career and your investments? This is something that's dear to me because this is something that my wife and I, it's the why behind our pursuit of wealth. I have no interest in money for money's sake. I have interest in options.
That's right.
For some pretty grand ideas that we have.
Yeah. That's I love that you asked that question because I love answering it. So a little bit about my why from the beginning of the podcast. So I do want financial freedom for long-term care for myself, but beyond any of that, I'm not a person that I don't want a yacht. I don't want those things. I mean, I don't care about material things. I really don't. I don't care about a nicer car. I don't care about I'm not even one of those women, and I know females often, I mean, I have some nice handbags, I'll say that, but I'm not one that will go out shopping all the time. Actually, I don't even like shopping, so I'm weird in that way. I want whatever wealth I can accumulate to go towards, number one, building the kingdom of God, and number two, and that could be a lot of things, right? Helping people learn how to get out of debt, helping people learn how to have financial success so that they can help other people. Like I want to build a community of generosity. And one of my really good friends really made me feel so good the other day, because she said, if anybody deserves this, it's you. She was like, because you've always been generous. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but I really got that from my both of my parents. They were very generous people, and even when they didn't have, they gave to other people. And I always want to do that, and I never want to forget the feeling of needing someone and somebody being generous to me. So it's very important that I build a legacy of generosity. And that can be a lot. That can be a lot of things. So I have separate ideas of what that may mean, but definitely helping people in need, but also with a purpose to funnel them, those people in need, towards my faith. And so that's one thing. And then another one that's probably maybe a little funnier, but also very dear to my heart is I want to build an animal sanctuary, because I knew you were going to laugh at that. But I think, especially in the real estate space, we are wiping out land so much. And you will not believe, really near to me, there's a highway and there's a lake, and they raised the ground, and now it's a highway, and it used to just be land. And so many turtles get crushed, and I see their little shells, and it just breaks my heart. And I take them to the little nature center, and so many animals just are dead on the side of the road. And I was like, these animals have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. So I want to, and I love dogs too. So I want to have like a lot of land that animals can just gravitate towards, that will not become some big, huge building. Like, I just want all the animals to be able, and if they eat each other, they eat each other. But I don't want humans to be running them over on the side of the road. And I also, I want a place for all these stray dogs that I see. Like, I want to help the animals. And people are like, that's ridiculous, but it's somebody's got to do it. And so, I really, before I expire on this earth, I do want to have some sort of sanctuary, or at least have a foundation that will be towards that. So
there you go. I like it.
I knew you were going to laugh, Justin. You didn't expect it, did you?
It wasn't what I expected. No, exactly. That's great. Well, Amber, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to catch up. It's good to catch up with you.
Absolutely. Sure. For those of you who feel stuck in your 9-to-5 and believe you have the potential for something bigger than you can accomplish on your present income, I hope Amber's story has been an inspiration to you. Your own journey to similar achievements could be just around the corner. And if your friends doubt or dismiss such possibilities, be kind to them, but it's probably time to get some new friends. Join us every other Tuesday for more insightful discussions on future episodes of Nursing Real Wealth. Have a great day.